Well, hello, folks, and welcome to What's
Hey,
This Bird Live?
everybody. Hey, Greg. Facebook's
It,
still being really touchy. I had to
it is.
delete it and bring it back, and it was a bit of a hairy situation there. But everyone else is working fine.
It is. And
Everyone
when
else
you,
should be
Nate,
going, and we should be yeah. Hi to everybody.
hi
We're
there,
here
and
finally.
you didn't see it, but on my end, when you reset it, it crashed OBS. So
Yeah, I
I
thought
had
that
to.
I thought I saw that too. Thanks, Facebook. Thanks, Mark Zuckerberg, for your
Ah, boy,
fantastic product that was working flawlessly and now does not work flawlessly. Anyway, hello
we're
to everybody.
here.
Welcome to What's This Bird Live. My name is Nate Swick. I'm joined by my colleague here at the ABA, Greg Neise, and we're going to talk about birds and birding and bird identification here, as we usually do. If you're new to this program, what we do is the ABA hosts a number of Facebook groups, one of which is called What's This Bird? It's a live crowdsourced bird identification community. And people take a photo of a bird that they'd like to know what it is, the identity of. They put it in the Facebook group, and our friendly community of moderators and members will help you identify that bird. But every once in a while, there's a bird that pops up that has some additional questions that we'd like to ask about it. And that's where Greg and I come in. We're going to talk about those identifications with you today. Greg, how are you doing?
Yes. Oh, I'm doing good. Still like putting things away here and setting things up from when everything crashed a couple minutes ago, but
I know.
we're good. We're
I know.
ready to go. Um,
Yeah.
it never
Yeah.
fails.
It never fails. There's always something going on. That's the magic of live
It
communication.
is. It is. Well, I am doing good. We are in. I'm in post holiday doldrums here. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's. If you're in, well, boy, the weather across the entire ABA area has just been really weird this winter, and for us here in the Western Great Lakes, it's just been this leaden, overcast rain.
Mm,
Just like I want to sleep until 3 in the afternoon
yeah.
and then go back to bed kind of day. It's just like.
Well, I'm looking at my window over here to my left, and we've got blue skies for the first time in like a week and a
uh,
half. So that's really nice. It's warm. It's the southeast. It is. I mean, that's the way it is. Sometimes it is a little odd, I guess, in long term. But for the most part, we do get some warm days every once in a while in the winter. And today is one of those days, much to the enjoyment of everyone who lives here. A lot of
I'm
people
gonna
out
I'm
and
gonna
about today.
respond here to some of the people in the comments. And Len Kopka says he's not seeing video. Len, try reloading the page. It looks to me like
Yeah,
other
refresh.
people. Yeah, it looks to me like other people are getting the video, and it's working here on Facebook. So yeah, just try reloading that. Hi to Buddy, Michelle, and Len, of course, Matt, Holly, and Tim. Um, Hi to all of you guys.
Yeah, a lot of
Uh,
folks. Our longtime Facebook watcher, Mia McPherson, is over on YouTube today. Hi, Mia. Welcome to there.
right
Tim
on.
Condon, Frank, ML Roush, Andrew Kambauer, Jim Neitzel, Kevin Roush. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you here. We're excited to talk about birding. I have to leave at 2 o'clock after record a podcast segment right at 2. So we're gonna be a little bit shorter than usual. Hopefully not by too much. Sometimes lately
Yeah.
we've been going a little bit over the hour. I think we're gonna be a little bit under the hour this time. Just giving you a heads up right off the bat. But we still got a lot to talk about. We still got some good stuff.
We
Yeah.
do.
Do we want to do we want to
Well,
you want
let's
to jump right
do
into
that
it, or we
thing.
got
Yeah.
anything
So
else? Any preamble?
the first thing we have to talk about is we are going to Honduras, meaning the ABA is leading a tour to Honduras next month. If anybody's interested, there is still room on this tour. It's fantastic. But this Tuesday night, January 24th, at 8 o'clock, Katinka Doman, who lived in Honduras for many years
Mm-hmm.
and is leading this tour for us, she is our ABA travel coordinator. She will be leading a webinar on Tuesday night all about birding in Honduras. And I thought I'd just give a little preview of that here right now. So here we go. We'll see if this doesn't blow things up.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay. Yeah,
This
okay.
is oh no, that was a resplendent quetzal. What is this one? I'm not sure what this one is. Looks like an emerald or something. You know the name
I'm
of it,
hearing
Greg?
sound, but apparently it's
This
not
is a
going through.
euphonia. That's a euphonia. Maybe scratch
That is a
euphonia.
euphonia.
Oh, red cap mannequin. Lovely, lovely tropical bird mannequins from the great tropical bird families. I've not seen this, by the way. Oh, green honey creeper. Yeah, both the male and the female.
Oh, people are hearing sound. Good. All right, you're not hearing it, but
All right, good.
people are hearing it.
What is that? An eye-ring broadbill, maybe? Sure. Oh, that's funny. That's one of the evil-looking trogons. Trogons come in two varieties. Did you know that, Greg? There are cute trogons and there are evil trogons. And
Oh
Stinkertails are
yeah,
some of the
evil
ones.
trogons with the big wide bills
The
that
big
look
wide
like.
bills and the flat
Yeah.
heads. Yeah, look like they're gonna mess
Yeah,
you up.
sorry. Yeah, we'll try to. We threw this in here kind of last minute this morning, and Amy said the music is hard to hear. Nate, that was kind of
Oh,
intentional.
I can turn my mic up.
But
Oh.
no, you don't need to turn your mic up. The music was just really loud.
Yeah. No one wants to
but,
hear my vamping. Anyway.
So yeah, you can check that out, and we will be sending out emails and notices on all of the socials. I'm gonna drop in the comments here in Facebook.
Thank you,
Here
John
is-
Calendar, for noting that my oblivious voiceover makes a nice accompaniment to the music. You know it. Now you know what birding the tropics with me is like.
So the very first link here is to our email subscription form, so you can go there and sign up for emails from us, which you should, because they're full of really good stuff. But if you sign up for the travel newsletter, you'll get all kinds of interesting stuff about our travel program and notice about the webinars and programs that we do like that. So then you'll be given notice of the webinar Tuesday advance notice. But also look for it, like I said, here on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram.
We'll make a note in our newsletter. If you want to sign up for the ABA's newsletter flight calls, you're welcome to do so at our website. There's a link you can find there to click and give us your email address, and we'll sign you up. Pretty much all the stuff that we do, all the AV stuff that we do, interactive stuff, is going to be posted there at some point. We'll give you a heads up so you're not caught off guard when this stuff suddenly goes live on Facebook.
Yeah, and this
Or
is
YouTube,
this is a free program that does not require advanced registration, so you can just pop in.
All right.
Should
we identify some birds?
Let's identify
Greg?
some birds. Okay, this one is from Arcadia, California, and it's one that we get in here a couple times a year, and it's just So today, I think if we have a theme, I think it's going to be kind of structure and impression. So what do we got, Nate?
So some things I'm looking at here. This appears to be a relatively small bird, just based on the context we have here. The leaves look very large behind it. The fruits on the trees, on the twig that it's sitting on, look quite large. I don't know any large size fruit. So this is going to be a little bird. Some important notes. It looks like it's got a little bit of an eye ring, especially with that dot behind the eye. I think a lot of the eye ring is the photo's a little bit blown out here, so it's a little brighter than you would see in real life. But you can see an eye ring if you look closely enough, and it's got two wing bars, two white wing bars. But overall, it's a pretty plain bird. Good sized bill, good sized legs.
I mean, if you kind of went for things like warblers or that kind of vein, you'd sort of be in the right general direction. But like Nate said, a couple of things stand out here, and one is the bill is a little bit heavy, but notice that the end of the bill is kind of curved. It's not sharp like most warblers are. So out in California, there's a few species that kind of might look like this too, in particular, that can be quite difficult to tell apart. But so you might think orange-crowned warbler, but it really doesn't. Well, orange-crowned warbler has a very sharp, spiky bill, unlike this bird.
Yeah, we get
And
this bird, few times a year. And what's this bird, as Greg notes? And I think the location is going to be an important thing here. So Arcadia,
absolutely.
California, is going to be an important thing to note. It's why status and distribution is so important to know as a birder. And also the bill, as Greg notes. So there are two birds that I think of in California that typically have this overall grayish cast, white wing bars, and a white eye ring, and those are ruby crowned kinglet and Hutton's vireo. And as Greg notes, when we're talking about warblers and kinglets, they have those sort of very small, thin, pointed bills, whereas this one does not have that at all. You can also notice the legs are bigger and thicker and kind of a gray blue rather than kind of the black
Hmm.
yellow. And one of the things about ruby crowned kinglet that really stands out when you see this bird moving around is its behavior. So this is a bird that is constantly flicking its wings, constantly flicking its tail, constantly showing off those margins, those yellow margins in the flight feathers.
Yep.
Very active bird. And the other bird that we're looking at, and I'm gonna stop beating around the bush here. It's a Hutton's vireo. The California
Yep.
location kind of cinches it. They do that too, but not nearly as much. So Hutton's vireos kind of, vireos tend to be kind of bulkier and stockier and slower and a little bit more sluggish than our warblers and vireos too. So behavior is a really important thing that, we're looking at a static image. So we're not gonna be able to see that. We're not gonna see the bird flicking its wings. But if you get a good look at this bird, that's something that's going to stand out.
And as we say many times here, it's much easier. It's much easier to identify a bird in the field very often than it is from a single
Yeah,
photograph.
yeah.
In this photograph, though, the bird on the left here is the bird in question. And as Nate pointed out, the blue-gray legs are immediately, if you see blue-gray legs like that, vireo is one of the families that should just jump right up to the top because they
Hmm.
pretty much all have kind of heavy
Yeah.
blue-gray legs. One
Heavy
other
bills,
thing,
heavy blue gray legs. Yep.
mm-hmm, and one other thing to note here is on the vireo at left, the darkest part of the wing panel is in between the wing bars.
Hmm.
And in the kinglet on the right, it's got that dark bar that's below or outside the wing bars in the
Hmm.
secondaries, and
Yeah.
that's kind of unique to kinglets in our area. One other thing, just look at how thin the legs are on the kinglet,
Skinny, skinny, skinny.
and they very, very often show those little yellow socks.
Yep. Aaron Maislish, who I know is a California area birder,
Yep.
he says if it stops long enough for you to get a good look at it, it's probably a Hutton's vireo.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I once
Yep.
tried to digiscope it wasn't a ruby crown kinglet, it was a golden crown kinglet, and I found that to be a completely unpleasant experience. I did get something. I did get something for eBird. eBird good, but nothing else. Nothing else.
Right on. Okay, so moving right along. This one comes to us from
Kelowna.
British Columbia, and there's
Getting
two
some West
photos
Coast
here.
birds here. We get accused of East
Um,
Coast bias a lot, but it's good to
yeah,
have some California birds out here, or BC birds, West Coast birds.
there's two birds or two photos here of the same bird in different positions, slightly different positions, showing different things. So, in the discussion of this bird in the What's This Bird group, it was suggested that this is a European starling and kind of just left there as a European starling. But I disagree with that, and I think you will
Hmm.
too.
I agree.
This is
Yep.
this is not a European starling. It is one of the blackbirds, and it
Hmm.
is
We can
one
identify
of the
both birds
most.
if we want, Greg.
What's that? We can identify. We'll get back. Yeah, we'll get back to that. That brown bird. Well, actually, we can do the brown bird right away.
Yeah, why not?
It's a little brown guy with wing bars, kind of blurry
Big fat
streaking all
streaks on the
over.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe a
It doesn't
little bit
really
of
have much of a not much of a pattern at all to speak of on the head. Even though we're not getting a great look at it, I think we can tell from these two photos, the one
yeah,
from behind and the blurry one where the bird is looking off to the left, that there is not much of a pattern there at all. And
right.
yeah,
Well, the
so
thing that
in
stands
the
out from these two photos, what the one on the left in particular, is the very short primaries. There's only a couple of primary feathers sticking out there, maybe three, and the wing panel overall looks very short.
Yep.
The two other finches that would look like this are Cassin's finch in that part of the world, Cassin's finch and purple finch, and both of those birds have long primaries. Those are they have longer primaries, and they wouldn't have these short. They would also have crisper markings all over, especially the Cassin's finch.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, those long wings, whenever you see a bird with long wings, you know that that's a bird that that travels a long distance to get where it needs to go. Both a purple finch and Cassin's finch are pretty well known for being kind of nomadic in search of fruiting pines. Whereas house finch, which is what this bird is more sedentary for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, a couple of other birds we can rule out that could be confused with this would be common redpoll. Common redpolls have these white braces on their back, and when you see one from behind, they also have whitish rumps, so we can see this bird's rump and we can see the back really well. So we know that this is not a redpoll, so it's a house finch. But now getting back to the blackbird, you know, it's a blackbird with little white-ish spots all over it.
Yeah.
And in the second picture, we can see the bill, and that's key here. So I'm going to go right to the comp, and
comp it.
So here's our bird in the little inset compared with a immature male, or a molting male, red-winged blackbird in the middle, and a European starling on the left. And look at how the bill shape and size in this foreshortened view matches perfectly with the red-winged blackbird, and how thin the European starling is, and how the blackbird has sort of this frontal shield that goes up like over the plane of the eyes.
Yep. Very broad-based bill. Yeah,
absolutely.
Both vertically and horizontally. Yeah, and you know, whenever you see kind of a streaky dark bird, you know, it's not a bad thought to immediately go to European starling. They are kind of streaky and white speckled this time of year, but the blackbirds are too. Blackbirds are one of our kind of unique species. They molt once a year, don't they, Greg? Or is it twice a year? In any case, they molt, and the fresh feathers are the ones with these sort of buff tips to them, and those kind of wear off over the course of the winter to turn into the kind of sleek, glossy, iridescent black that we're so familiar with when we think of red-winged blackbirds. Those tips are essentially protecting the bird's feathers throughout the winter. The winter months where the bird is kind of scrounging for food in kind of difficult situations, so that they look very nice once you know, March rolls around and they're ready to tee up on top of the cattails and sing.
Yeah, and the red-winged blackbird in that plumage is one of the most frequently misidentified birds in the ABA area. And they can look like anything from sparrows to blackbirds, and everything in between. And and you know, those birds are not close to each other in the field guide, so a novice birder might be inclined to take a look, you know, grab their field guide, immediately start looking in the sparrows, and not realize that they need to go over to the blackbirds, which are in a different section, usually a little bit later in the field guide, and not, you know, separated by quite a few birds, so you wouldn't necessarily know to switch them. To switch over there. But yeah, you know, it's shaped more like a blackbird, the kind of long, lanky shape with a longer tail. Sparrows tend to be much more compact, rounder in the body, with a long tail, and not just, you know, kind of. I realize I'm saying long a lot, but blackbirds are kind of long in the entire body, whereas sparrows tend to be kind of compact in the body and long in the tail. Yep. Oh, I got a little gray finch here or something.
Another, these blackbirds can look like a lot of different birds. So we talked about the house finch earlier, Greg. This bird is kind of smudgy brown. This bird doesn't have much of a pattern. This bird has kind of a thick-based, finchy-looking bill. Why isn't this a house finch?
Well, it doesn't have wing bars, for one thing. And it doesn't really have any streaking on the crown or anything, and it's gray. It's kind of a slatey gray color. It's not really brownish. I mean, house finches can look grayish sometimes, and it's when house finches are gray, they tend to be even more crisply streaked, and then as they get browner, they get blurrier. At least that's my experience out here.
Yeah.
But this bird has a really heavy bill, very similar in shape to the red-winged blackbird we just saw a moment ago. And the reason is because it's in the same family. And there's really only a couple of birds that are this color. And one of them
Yeah, this
that look like this gray with the kind of whitish throat and little bits of streaking here and there and heavy black legs, the real strong legs.
yeah, exactly.
And of course, the other bird that looks like this is European starling.
Once more.
Once again.
Once more. Yeah, when we're
But
talking about finches, those legs really seem to stand out. Finches in general tend to have little spindly, short legs. And you see it just imagine. I mean, everyone has finches. Most everyone across the entire continent of North America has finches of some sort visiting their feeders. And you just think about, you don't really see their legs all that much. They really like to sit kind of hunched over. Whereas, our blackbirds they're big, strong, striding legs. They walk across the grass, picking insects out of the blades. And yeah, I mean, that's a bird that moves around on its feet a lot.
Yeah,
and finches kind of hop. They hop on the ground.
And it really is interesting how brown-headed cowbird, which is the bird on the right, in a female or young plumage, and the bird on the left, which is a juvenile European starling. I take away the face; they really are similar. They've got that same cold gray coloration, the whitish throat, and like I said, the strong black legs. But really, you can the structure of the bill. The starling has kind of a unique bill among our passerines. It's got this long, spiky bill. The only bird that comes to mind is meadowlarks have a spiky bill like that, of birds this size. And starlings, when they're not jet black, always show these dark lores, the space between the eye and the bill, and that can often be a giveaway as well.
Yeah. Another thing, just unlikely to be seen in Florida, but another bird that you could mistake a brown-headed cowbird female for is a brewer's blackbird. It's kind of a all-over gray bird that west of the Mississippi River is where you tend to run into brewer's blackbirds. They're a common parking lot bird across most of the West, but they have a much longer, thinner bill. They kind of lack that white chin, that clear white chin. They're kind of gray all over, and the bill is a completely different shape, and that's sort of what you're going to be looking for with those birds. They frequently hang out together in a lot of places in the West, so you get good opportunities to see them. A lot of the blackbirds, especially this time of year, get in these big mixed species flocks. So you get these brown-headed cowbirds and European starlings, even though European starlings are not really related to the rest of our North American blackbirds.
They found friends.
Brewer's blackbirds, yeah, exactly. They know that they look alike too. Common grackle, things like that will kind of join in these very large flocks, and you can frequently see a lot of different species of birds together. And it's a good opportunity to kind of study them and get a sense of how to identify them when they're on their own.
Yeah, and my experience with brewer's blackbirds in the East is that they tend to hang together. I mean, even in a big flock of birds in a freshly plowed field, the brewer's blackbirds, you'll get a field full of blackbirds, and there'll be a dozen brewers, and they all kind of hang together.
Daphne Rose in Facebook notes that brewers overwinter in North Florida and Jefferson County. That's great to know. They're very local in a lot of places in the East in the winter. They for many years they wintered here in North Carolina, out in Hyde County, out by Lake Mattamuskeet. They really liked cattle corrals, not like a pasture where cattle go out to feed, but like the corrals where they come in
lots.
And they kind of stomp it down, and it's all muddy and nasty, and there's hay all over the place. That's where I always see brewer's blackbirds, or I always think about looking for brewer's blackbirds in the East.
Yep.
I don't know if that's the case in Jefferson County, Florida, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, one thing too, while we're just chatting here, if you guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about, I'm watching the comment feed in Facebook, and Nate's watching YouTube and Twitter. So if there's anything you want to talk about, you got a question about birds, or just drop it there, and we'll try to get to you and answer your question, or just got something fun to say,
I'll
Let her
answer a
rip.
question. I'll answer a YouTube question. Jim's Long Road asks, are either of you going to Biggest Week in American Birding this year? I will be there. They've got me leading a few trips and driving the van, and I'll be hanging around the ABA, what is it, the event space booth. That's the word I'm looking for.
Booth.
The ABA booth. I'll be there. So yeah, come on by and say hello if you want.
It's
if you'd like
the
to.
end of a long week for us.
It certainly is. I have no idea.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on here to the next bird. Okay, so Dave Warner, that's a good question. Where do you guys pull these pictures from? Just from the ABA? Yes, that is where we pull the pictures from. Although the comparisons, I pull the pictures from all over the place. It's like wherever I can find them, basically, to compare the bird in question to. Some of them are from my own photo art, library. So
Daphne says, does Bruce Blackbirds love a feedlot with muddy hay? That's
just
awesome.
what
I'm
you were
telling
saying.
you, that's their habitat. That's like their niche habitat in the east. They're parking lot birds in the west and muddy feedlot birds in the east.
And around here, they the other bird that loves muddy feedlots is Eurasian tree sparrow. It's a good place to find.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Okay, so here's one from Mexico. From Quintana Roo.
Quintana Roo, down in the south.
Yeah, and this, I think most people go, "Oh, it's a great egret, easy,
Big
in there, done
white
that."
wading bird. Big
Yeah.
white wading bird. Yeah, I mean it's pretty clearly a heron and or egret. It is the large with a long straight bill, long legs, hanging out near water. That bird's looking for some fish or crabs or whatever it can get. Yeah, but there's a lot of white wading birds.
Well, and it's easy to work through them. This bird's got a honking yellow bill, so that snowy egret, juvenile little blue heron, white-faced reddish cattle egret. All those birds are cattle egret has a yellow bill.
Little egret.
Cattle egret has
intermediate egret.
Yeah.
Seriously, there's an intermediate egret. It's the least creative bird name on the planet.
It is.
There's a great egret and a little egret, and then there's like, oh yeah, that one's between it. That's intermediate egret. Terrible. Do better, Nemo.
This bird has long legs, and so we can discount cattle egret because cattle egrets are short, squat little guys.
It is indeed, and I don't usually see them next to water like this. I usually see them walking around in pastures with large bovines.
Exactly, and
whatever the local
in Mexico
bovine
in
is.
particular, that's where you're going to find them is out in the cattle pastures. But it's it really is amazing how small cattle egrets are when you see them up close. I mean, they're not
They're
not
tiny.
big birds, and they're just, like I said, short, squat little guys.
They do have light colored bills and light colored legs, though.
They do. This bird has really
But
big,
this is
long, pink legs. I mean, this is
Yeah.
Now the thing with leg color and bill color, now you notice how this bird's bill sort of changes color as it gets closer to the eyes, the face,
Yeah, kind of bluish. Yeah.
But the legs, the bare parts of herons are dictated by hormones and change wildly throughout the year. If you've never seen a snowy egret or a great egret in peak breeding, when they're displaying, and they typically have black faces or gray faces, and then you see this like neon green.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah,
it's very short-lived, and then everything is just really pumped up.
It's usually like in March and April. Yeah.
So the bare parts, you kind of like, well, you pay attention, but kind of keep that in mind that the bare parts change, but the structure here, this bird looks really familiar. This is a big crouching heron with long legs and a big honking bill. So we're gonna just kind of cut to the chase here and go for a comparison.
It's a whooping crane.
It's a whooping.
Not a whooping crane.
So here we have the bird in question in the middle, a great egret on the left, and a great blue heron on the right. And some people might say, well, duh, it's not a great blue heron. Why are you showing me a great blue
It's
heron?
not blue.
And it's not blue because it
It
is a
may be
great
great.
it is a great white heron, which is currently a subspecies of great
Yeah.
blue heron that's
Yeah,
found
quite
in the
common in the
ABA
Caribbean.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the ABA area, it's exclusively found in South Florida, although they have wandered a little bit,
They wander.
especially up the
Yeah.
coast. But notice the structure of the bills. I mean, the great blue heron and the great white, the bill's like heavy like a boat. It's not spike like it's got this. It's got
Yeah.
a keel to the bottom of it, and
Yeah.
it's not spike like the great egret on the left. And like I said, it gives this impression of just being kind of this hulking monster, which is what they are. If you've ever seen,
That's what a great blue heron is.
I know.
It's a
If you've ever
hulking
seen a great
monster
blue
of a
heron
bird.
like work a field of voles or gophers,
They are
it's
they
like-
are terrifying.
if
They're terrifying. They're terrifying to like almost a normal sized human, let alone an animal smaller than it. But yeah, great white heron. Did we talk about the leg color, Greg?
we
I may
did,
have. Okay, yeah. So the pink legs, the pink bill, big old body. It's great white heron. Yeah.
yeah. And
I think they should be their own species, but
I think
I'm
they
also
should.
not a
I
taxonomist.
think they should
but-
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not immediately familiar with any studies. I mean, I'm sure there have been, or I'm not actually sure there have been. Anyways, it's a great white heron.
Indeed. I have a good
Trisha-
question on YouTube. We can take a pause here, Greg. Mark McGee asks, this week on the podcast, I used the term stringer, which he had to look up, and there was a great ABA blog post by George Armistead, our friend George Armistead, explaining what stringer means. Is there a good birding term glossary that you use? There should be one. I don't know that there is one, but there should be one.
There's the one that
Well,
one that
Bill
sort
Oddie's.
of was the grandfather. Well, let's just say Bill
Yeah.
Oddie's.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when it almost felt wrong to like publish another one while Bill Oddie's was sort of like but now it's sort of
What's it called?
American birding,
The little brown book or something like that.
Little Black Book of Birding.
Little Black Book of Birding. Yeah. So a lot of the birding terms, the kind of slang that we use, we've sort of borrowed from the British birding community. Stringer is one of those. The stringer is someone that exaggerates sightings, says they see things that they don't actually see. It can be inadvertent or intentional. There's a lot of them, like tick. A lot of lists we're familiar with, like life list. That's borrowed from British birding culture. To string, to tick, to dip, to twitch. All these words that we've sort of borrowed. And I don't know, are there any American ones that we've or North American ones? I should say because the Canadian.
I don't think we can. I don't think we
similar.
can repeat them here. But yeah, there are. Trisha Lombardi asks on Facebook, are the ABA birding tours geared more towards bird sightings, bird photography, or both equally? I would say, and that's a good question for
That is a good
Katinka,
question.
but I would say, from my experience, that both equally. So it's not necessarily a photo workshop, like where you spend all day working a particular bird or a particular feeder or a particular thing. So you want to see as much of an area and as many birds as possible. However, there is a lot of care given to make sure that people who want to photograph birds are given as much opportunity to do so. And so I would say both equally.
Yeah. I helped lead a trip to Panama this past fall, and it was pretty easy-going, honestly. We did not push that hard. We still ended up with a ton of birds and great looks at a lot of them, with a lot of opportunities for photography. But the groups are usually small enough that you can find time for both. In the past, we've done very large trips with a lot of different people, and there are, different where we stay at like a hub, and then there are different kind of day trips going out from that hub. And you can choose to go on one that is more photography centric or one that is more kind of just trying to get as many birds as possible or get good looks at different birds. There's stuff that can be more focused to whatever the individual birder is interested in on an individual day. But that's definitely a question to take up with Katinka. If you're interested in going on a specific trip, she would be able to give you more information on that. But a lot of it depends on what the group wants. If the group seems like a photography sort of group, or a group that wants to kind of linger at one place and not push hard to the next place to just try and rack up lists, then that's what you'll probably end up doing. A lot of the guides that we work with are really amenable to the needs of their individual groups on an individual day. And it can change too. So,
absolutely, absolutely. All righty. I am not sure where we're at. This may be our last bird.
Was this our last one? Okay,
I think
well,
so.
We've got some questions.
I think we blew through this.
Man.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt, and I think Nate, you probably got it.
That was me.
Yeah. once bittern, Matt Agleski, one of my.
I was trying to think of
my
a
homeboys.
shot, like once bittern, twice. Can't think of a good bird one. Anyway, once bittern, twice.
Let's see if we go to black screen here. If I hit the button.
Oh man!
And yeah, we do. Okay, so that's
hey,
it for
the
our
two topper.
birds.
Yeah, we do have some questions. It's an interesting question from Facebook that I wanted to hit before we left. Where was it? Elise May, bird behavior question. Yesterday, a murder of crows. A group of crows assembled in the tree line near our construction site, which was being newly cleared. They were being extremely vocal in a way I'd never heard before. What could be some reasons for this?
Oh boy!
Just off the top of my head, crows are extremely social and extremely vocal, and they are definitely communicating information to each other. But who can know the mind of a crow? Who knows whether they're saying, "Oh, this sucks," or more opportunities for getting so and so food, or this is something that changed, and we need to communicate it to the rest of our immediate crow neighbors. Who knows? But that's definitely something crows do. I mean, they are very communicative. They are very social, and they'll do that sorts of stuff all the time.
And they're also very excitable. And if you are, you're familiar with your crows in your neighborhood, and you see them like suddenly flocking and making all kinds of noise, and they sound really excited, and they're jumping up and down in the branches. Go check out to see if they're excited about something they found. In my neighborhood, I've seen them. It's called mobbing behavior, where the crows will chase something that they perceive to be a threat, or something that they just find unique and weird. I've seen them chase coyotes. I've seen them chase house cats. I think everybody who spent any time birding has probably seen them chase hawks.
But owls. I found great horned owls from following crows. Yeah, and jays.
One of the best way to find owls is to pay attention to crows and chickadees, and other birds that are that have this mobbing behavior. Because when they find an owl, they will gather around it and make all kinds of noise and try to get the owl to move on. And they will alert you to the owl's presence, so you can get a good look at it.
Yeah, I've seen jays mobbing like a big black rat snake way up in a tree. Anything weird they'll go after. Anything new, anything novel, they're gonna make a note of it, and they're gonna let them know, and then you by proxy.
Yeah. Yeah, so and some of the comments we've had here, Will Davis, danger present, yes. Jeff Blanchard says could be a roost site. Yes, it could.
Could be the roost site that got cut down and they're ticked off about it.
Julie McQuaid says snakes, and yeah, Nate just said, I think you said you saw them mobbing a rat snake once. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, pay attention to the sounds and behavior of crows, because, well, one, they're fascinating. They're just really fascinating birds. But they will.
Did you see the link that Nick Lund just sent?
No.
On Facebook.
Nick just said,
so if people are not familiar with Nick, he, among other things, maintains a really interesting group on Facebook called Google Street View Birding, where people try and pour through the Google Street View camera and try and find birds in the Street View that the Street View camera has inadvertently taken photos of. And they have something like a ridiculously high number of species that they have picked off. People, this community have found by going through Street View in places all over the world. Nick, perhaps you can say in the comments how many species have you found in Google Street View birding yet? It's I want to say it's like low 4 digits. Like, it's ridiculous. But he sent a link to one to say if this is a scarlet tanager, and I don't know if you popped this up, Greg. It's zoomed in as much as it can. It looks like it's somewhere in Grand Isle, so it's somewhere in Louisiana.
Yeah, you say it's on Facebook. Lane. I'm not seeing it yet.
It's on the Facebook comments. It certainly looks like it too. Like, I don't know. It's in April 2022. It's in Grand Isle, which is a known spring migration hotspot. It stands to reason that maybe the morning that there would be migratory birds, northbound migratory birds in the trees around this road, which appears to be right close to the beach. Yeah, I'd say that's a scarlet tanager, Nick. Congratulations, scarlet tanager on Google Street View. Who would have known?
Okay, it just popped up for me. Let me quick take a look and see.
I'll put the link onto our friends in YouTube if they want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I would definitely call that either a scarlet tanager or an apapane.
That's what it is. It's an EEV.
Or an EEV, not an apapane.
Vagrant EEV. Apapane's red too. Apapane's red. It doesn't have black wings though.
It doesn't have black wings, exactly.
Yeah.
That does look like a scarlet tanager. Yeah. I think I added a bird or two to that birding Google Maps group. I think I found a gyrfalcon in Iceland.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. It's shot. I mean, you think about all the birds that you see on the side of the road. Things like herons and ducks and all sorts of stuff. I mean, they found tinamous and parrots and all sorts of just like amazing list of stuff. Please check out Google Street View Birding. It's a group on Facebook. It's worth checking out. Let's see. Scott Heron, appropriate name, asks if great blue and great white herons were to be split, where would that leave Werdeman's heron as a hybrid? Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine so. I think so. I think it's widely assumed to be a hybrid anyway, like a hybrid swarm anyway. So.
Yep. Thayer's heron.
Thayer's heron. That's it. Dark phase. It's a
dark phase Thayer's heron.
dark phase Thayer's
heron. Will Davis says he's not seeing the link. Will, for me, it's 2 comments above your comment.
Here, I'll post it again.
Above Scott Heron's comment. I don't know what's up with Facebook. I had to reload the page for Nick's comment to show up.
Facebook is trouble. Yeah, I posted it there. Suzanne says maybe the crows are drunk on fermented fruit. Maybe. How could you tell? How could you tell? I don't think I'd be able to. I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference between a sober crow and a drunk crow.
All right. Well, we're at the 45-minute mark here.
We are vamping now. So,
and I know Nate's got to prepare for a podcast episode that he's going to be.
Yeah, I got to record it right after this.
And by the way, the American Birding Podcast, if you're not familiar with it, is the best natural history podcast out there. I'm biased, but you should definitely check in.
According to Apple Podcasts, all those Bigfoot podcasts are better.
It's because people don't know. Yeah, we got to get the word out a little bit more. But if you enjoy what we do here and the podcast and everything else, please, there it is. Hit the join button. Actually, it's not a join button on this screen, but go to aba.org/join. Don't hit that. Just go to aba.org/join for $2.50 a month, price of a cup of coffee a month. You can join the ABA and be a full member with access to digital magazines, ABA community, and everything else we do. And I just want to sort of give a little bit of a teaser here for things that are going to be happening in ABA community. If you have, I think over 1,000 people have jumped into ABA community at one point over the last month or two, and it's slowly building as these kinds of projects do. But one of the things we're going to be doing is member only programs and webinars and learning experiences in community. And next month we will be doing one of those with Ted Floyd and Katinka, talking about the recent expedition to Antarctica and the Antarctic seas, South Georgia Island, and so on. And it's going to be really phenomenal. And,
but don't worry, we will still be doing these bi-weekly programs here that are free for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So don't worry, we won't be putting this stuff behind a paywall. We'll just be doing more stuff for members. But
More
we'll
stuff
to do
for
this
members
as outreach because it's fun for us and for all y'all.
But yeah, that is one of the keys for 2023 is more stuff for members. So
more stuff.
Drop that $2.50 a month on us, and then you can be part of the club.
Absolutely. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and check out right here, as we said earlier in the program, if you're interested in getting kind of a heads up that when we do these, go to aba.org and put your email down on the Flight Calls newsletter. We'll give you a heads up when these come out. Otherwise, we will see you then. Thanks, everybody, and have a great week.
And have a fun weekend. All right.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.